A mysterious, tentacled being, its origins shrouded in mystery, wreaks havoc by obliterating more than 70% of the moon. Surprisingly, despite this imminent threat, Tadami Karasuma, a government worker from the Ministry of Defense, decides to enlist the creature as the teacher for Class 3E. In an unexpected turn, the students are equipped with specially designed weapons intended to harm the creature. To add intrigue, a tempting reward of 10 billion yen is offered to anyone who can successfully assassinate the otherworldly teacher before graduation. Class 3E faces a single year to fulfill their assassination mission, enduring mistreatment due to their dismal records. Nagisa is called upon by classmates as they devise a plan to eliminate the teacher, ultimately assigning Nagisa a crucial role in this mission. Nagisa faces alienation from his friends upon their discovery of his transfer to Class 3E. Nonetheless, Nagisa remains resolute in his determination to eliminate the teacher and carries on with his class. The teacher assigns a monotonous workload to the students, prompting them to brainstorm and devise a fitting name for him. Summoning his courage, Nagisa takes deliberate steps toward the teacher before leaping onto him with a grenade in hand. It's then revealed that Terasaka and his squad orchestrated the scheme. Enraged, the teacher swiftly exits the class, only to return with the nameplates of Terasaka's house and his squad, escalating the situation. Terasaka becomes fearful following the teacher's threat, while Nagisa's actions receive praise, lifting spirits. Ultimately, Nagisa's friend suggests a name for the teacher, Koro-sensei. Koro-sensei leisurely sips a drink and reads a newspaper as Nagisa and Sugino devise a plan to eliminate him. Suddenly, before their eyes, Koro-sensei swiftly materializes behind the boys, holding the ball. Sugino is disheartened by his failure to eliminate his teacher. Koro-sensei catches Sugaya sketching instead of studying, prompting Karasuma to visit the class seeking an update on the mission. Meanwhile, Sugino takes the opportunity to have a conversation with Koro-sensei about his history. Hurrying to join Koro-sensei and Sugino, Nagisa discovers Sugino ensnared in Koro-sensei's tentacles. Nagisa soon realizes that Koro-sensei undertakes a journey solely to impart career advice to Sugino, uncovering the teacher's commitment to fulfilling a promise he made. Sugino dedicates time to volleyball practice with Nagisa. Certain students feign goodwill towards Koro-sensei in an attempt to assassinate him, but their efforts prove futile. Meanwhile, Koro-sensei spends time replanting the tulips he had previously destroyed, and Karasuma gains approval from the school principal to aid Koro-sensei. As Karasuma converses with fellow faculty members, a group of students pass by and disrupt the conversation. Heading to Class 3E, Karasuma discovers the students attempting to eliminate Koro-sensei while restrained by a tree. When the rope loses its hold, Koro-sensei falls to the ground, prompting the others to struggle in their attempt to shoot him. Ascending to the rooftop of the building, Koro-sensei taunts the students for their inability to join him. Meanwhile, Karasuma notices the students' cheerful demeanor and contrasts it with the atmosphere in the main school. Simultaneously, a student receives a briefing about their suspension and transfer to Class 3E. Karasuma reprimands Koro-sensei, insisting he participates in their physical education classes and assigns him to play in the sandbox. He then enlightens the students about his responsibilities and encourages them to aim higher. Koro-sensei, feeling envious, discusses it with Karasuma. Meanwhile, Nagisa is beckoned by someone familiar. Karma strides confidently toward Koro-sensei, extending his hand for a handshake. Seizing the moment, he becomes the first to harm Koro-sensei. Later, Koro-sensei sulks in class while the students focus on their test. Karma's mischievous act of enjoying Koro-sensei's snack provokes the teacher into an explosive fit of anger. Koro-sensei inadvertently steps on the bullet specifically prepared for him by Karma, causing his tentacles to dissolve. Karma taunts Koro-sensei, ridiculing his incapacity to harm the students due to the rules. Subsequently, Koro-sensei sets off on another journey to buy gelato. Meanwhile, Karma intervenes to save Nagisa from bullies and questions him about Koro-sensei's character. Koro-sensei focuses intently on his wallet, engrossed in calculations, before entering the class to discover a lifeless octopus on his desk. Karma unveils himself as the culprit. In response, Koro-sensei resolves to counter each of Karma's attacks with witty comebacks, portraying Karma as a subject of mockery. Karma finds himself in a pink apron during a cooking class after trying to attack Koro-sensei. Koro-sensei ensures that Karma's attacks fail, which causes Karma to rage. Nagisa meets Karma after class as he tries to persuade Karma. Karma decides to be smart by risking his life to shoot Koro-sensei. Karma reminisces about being reprimanded by a teacher for defending a bullied Class 3E student. Later, Koro-sensei intervenes, preventing Karma from falling and himself from being shot. Initially poised for retaliation, Koro-sensei has a change of heart. Koro-sensei makes a trip to Japan solely for budget shopping and encounters a woman being harassed by a group of men. He later realizes that the woman's destination coincides with the school where he tutors. Returning with her to Class 3E, Koro-sensei introduces her as Irina. However, the students react with disdain due to her appearance. As Nagisa takes notes, Irina leans closer to Koro-sensei. Karasuma unveils Irina's true identity. She's a professional assassin posing as a teacher with the sole mission of eliminating Koro-sensei. Irina reassures Karasuma about handling the task and proceeds to join the students and Koro-sensei in the field. Karma voices out, exposing Irina's true identity, even as she threatens them against intervening with her plans. Irina struggles to give a proper lecture to the kids, diverted by Nagisa's insights into her scheme. When Koro-sensei comes back with Irina's directives, she invites him for a private meeting. Irina closes the shed door and initiates her flirtatious approach toward Koro-sensei, while her men remain concealed. Her strategies crumble as Koro-sensei retaliates, severely tarnishing her reputation. Frustrated, Irina redirects her anger toward the Class 3E students, reminding them of their negative reputation. Irina pledges to offer the students 5 million yen each if she manages to eliminate Koro-sensei, but the students react with fury, driving her out of the class. Distressed, Irina vents her frustration to Karasuma, who responds by delivering a lecture about the roles of both the students and Koro-sensei. Irina opens her lecture with a remark before recounting one of her past assassination missions in America. She proceeds to outline her current mission and concludes with an apology. While the Class 3E students accept Irina, they decline to address her by her nickname. Koro-sensei expresses gratitude to Karasuma for bringing Irina into the fold. Koro-sensei engages in casual conversation with students while they collect various lab equipment. He sets up the lab while the students, following their routine, try to assassinate him. Koro-sensei cunningly convinces the students to participate in a practical exercise, secretly aiming to keep all the leftover items for himself. Okuda trembles as she approaches Koro-sensei. Okuda stammers as she convinces Koro-sensei to sample the poison she created. Koro-sensei consents to testing each bottle of poison, leaving the students on edge as they watch the results. Meanwhile, Irina voices her grievances to Karasuma about the inadequate ventilation in the classroom while Koro-sensei conducts experiments with Okuda. Okuda shares her academic struggles with Koro-sensei. The next day, she returns to school with a cheerful demeanor. The entire class becomes aware that Koro-sensei manipulated Okuda into creating a poison that would be advantageous to him. Seizing the moment, Koro-sensei uses this incident to lecture the students on the importance of language skills in assassination attempts. Nagisa reflects on the lecture and draws a conclusion from his experience. Okajima faces hardship as Class 3E attends an assembly at the main campus. Despite numerous challenges, the students finally make it to the main campus, where Nagisa encounters teasing from some former acquaintances. During the all-school assembly, Class 3E is exclusively singled out for special treatment. The school deans ridicule Class 3E, prompting laughter from the entire school. However, the atmosphere shifts when Karasuma and Irina enter the assembly as representatives. This sudden change causes the other students to feel envious of Class 3E and their bond with their teacher. Karasuma pulls Irina away due to her actions drawing attention to Nagisa. Koro-sensei rescues Class 3E from embarrassment by unexpectedly creating handwritten copies of handouts for his students. Nagisa confidently stands up to his bullies as they attempt to taunt him. Meanwhile, the school principal expresses dissatisfaction with Koro-sensei's methods and schemes to implement some changes. Koro-sensei employs his supersonic abilities to organize a review session, gearing up the students for midterms. The school principal pays an unanticipated visit to the Class 3E staff and initiates contact with Koro-sensei. While the principal converses with the teachers, Nagisa eavesdrops on their discussion. The school principal directly communicates his aspirations for Class 3E to Koro-sensei, explaining his rationale behind these wishes. Asano evaluates Koro-sensei before leaving, using the encounter to offer advice on his teaching methods. Later, Asano encounters Nagisa outside the staff room, wishing him luck in a rather aloof manner. Asano swiftly boosted the school's reputation as a manager within a brief time frame. Koro-sensei takes on extra tasks to assist with the midterms, leading to exhaustion. Students gather around Koro-sensei, making various remarks that eventually prompt him to abruptly instruct every student to move to the field. Irina joins the others summoned to the field, where Koro-sensei initiates his lecture. Utilizing Irina and Karasuma's reactions, Koro-sensei proceeds with his teaching. During the lecture, he generates a massive tornado and instructs the students to excel in their midterms the next day, threatening to destroy the campus otherwise. Nagisa and his peers approach their midterm questions as if they're facing a monstrous challenge. Koro-sensei grows assured of his students' performance as he patiently awaits them. The invigilator for Class 3E becomes alarmed as the students suddenly and confidently answer their questions, utilizing the teachings of Koro-sensei. Karasuma gets an unusual call from Asano concerning the students' midterms. Asano takes drastic measures to validate his beliefs by ensuring Class 3E fails miserably. Karma openly shares his exam scores with the entire class, showcasing success in every subject. He leverages these scores to persuade Koro-sensei to stand by them. The students of Class 3E gear up for their much-awaited class trip to Kyoto. Karasuma addresses the students, emphasizing the continuation of their mission even during the trip. Additionally, he plans to enlist sharpshooters to support the assassination effort. Karma agrees to join Nagisa's group for the excursion. Irina is taken aback by the students' casual approach to extending an invitation to her. While other classes board first-class accommodations, Class 3E is relegated to coach seats. Irina receives a reprimand for her supposedly inappropriate attire for the trip. Meanwhile, the students of Class 3E chat and play games, relishing the journey. Sugaya crafts an impeccable disguise for Koro-sensei's nose. Okuda and her companions find themselves being trailed by unfamiliar men. Koro-sensei, feeling unwell from the journey, retreats to a traditional inn. Meanwhile, Kanzaki discovers her itinerary missing from her belongings. Nagisa and his fellow teammates scout out a suitable location for their mission. Following various sightseeing activities, they navigate a deserted alley where the girls encounter harassment and abduction attempts by unfamiliar high schoolers. Amid the chaos, Nagisa and Karma are rendered unconscious. Nagisa confers with his teammates about the next steps in tracking down their friends and their captors. Meanwhile, Kanzaki and her companion face harassment from the abductors, who reveal an old picture featuring Kanzaki. Using Koro-sensei's guidebook, Nagisa and his team manage to pinpoint the abductors' hideout and unexpectedly confront them. The students breathe a sigh of relief as the guidebook proves to be a valuable asset. Koro-sensei arrives just in the nick of time, dealing mercilessly with the abductors. In the midst of dealing with them, he provides a brief lecture about the class's essence. After handling the situation, the students return to the inn feeling motivated. Red Eye, a sniper, receives a specific directive to assassinate Koro-sensei during his trip. While traveling on an open bridge, a group of students devise a plan to enlist Red Eye for their mission. Red Eye is taken aback by Koro-sensei's incredible speed and abilities. Once more, Red Eye's scheme is thwarted as Koro-sensei joins a swordplay event uninvited. Frustrated, Red Eye pledges to eliminate Koro-sensei but faces failure yet again, contemplating quitting before Karasuma intervenes with a call to stand down. To Red Eye's surprise, Koro-sensei unexpectedly visits him, leading to an unexpected dinner together. Koro-sensei expresses gratitude to Red Eye for inadvertently aiding his students in their exploration of various assassination sites. Red Eye contacts Karasuma, calling off their contract and stating their intentions to embark on a sightseeing adventure. Meanwhile, Kanzaki regains her confidence as she visits the arcade with her teammates, returning to her usual self. Nagisa reflects on the newfound closeness between Kayano and Kanzaki after their abduction. He catches some of his female classmates spying on Koro-sensei's room in an attempt to uncover his identity. Upon finding Koro-sensei in a tub, they resolve to reveal his true form, but he swiftly escapes without leaving any trace behind. The male students of Class 3E chat about their preferences among the girls, unaware that Koro-sensei is quietly noting down their crushes while eavesdropping. Meanwhile, Irina meets with the girls to discuss their crushes as well. Eventually, the girls successfully convince Irina to spend time with them, leading to a conversation about her own story. Irina delivers a lecture to the girls on maintaining composure, sharing some advice. Unbeknownst to them, Koro-sensei covertly joins their discussion, but avoids revealing anything about his personal life, prompting the girls to chase after him. Seeking refuge, Koro-sensei rushes into Karasuma's room to hide, and Karasuma chooses not to inquire further. Nagisa and his friends chat about Karasuma's message on their way to school, discussing the arrival of a transfer student. Some students enter the class with apprehension, only to discover a machine awaiting them. Through their interaction, they realize the machine is the new transfer student, while Koro-sensei provides further details about the female machine. Koro-sensei commences his lessons with Class 3E as Nagisa and Kayano gossip about the new transfer student. Suddenly, the female machine disrupts the lecture, brandishing her guns and relentlessly firing at Koro-sensei. Karasuma informs Irina about the capabilities of the female machine while it manages to successfully hit Koro-sensei. Irina shares her thoughts on the transfer student situation with Karasuma. Class 3E students resolve to prevent the female machine from causing further disruptions in their classes. Sensing animosity from the students, Koro-sensei decides to offer the female machine some advice later that night. Koro-sensei's discussion with the female machine proves fruitful, as she opts to prioritize forging connections with the others. Throughout the night, Koro-sensei dedicates his time to upgrading the female machine, providing tools and software essential for fostering bonds with the rest of the group. Terasaka encourages the students not to be swayed by the improved behavior of the female machine. Koro-sensei addresses the class regarding Ritsu's upgrades and urges the students to interact positively with her. Despite Ritsu's successful efforts to build a positive relationship with Class 3E, some students remain skeptical about her presence. Ritsu's creator expresses surprise when she reports her upgrade. However, her makers decide to drastically downgrade her, working on her parts throughout the night. The students brace themselves for another attack from Ritsu, but to their surprise, she defies her creator's orders and instead offers them flowers. Irina delivers an English lecture to Class 3E, laying out her terms for assisting in their improvement. Upon returning to the staff room, she engages in a heated conversation with Koro-sensei and Karasuma, feeling that her reputation has been tarnished. Fuming, Irina storms out to contemplate her capabilities when suddenly a wire noose ensnares her. Karasuma swiftly identifies Irina's sensei as Lovro, a skilled retired assassin. Lovro reprimands Irina and demands her resignation, but Koro-sensei intervenes, coming to Irina's defense. Koro-sensei proposes a challenge between Irina and Lovro to decide Irina's resignation. Determined, Irina vows to eliminate Koro-sensei and win the challenge. Karasuma informs the class about the unexpected disturbance in their routine. Irina attempts to seduce Karasuma in order to attack him, but he sees through her ploy and foils it. Koro-sensei negotiates with Karasuma to gain his consent for the challenge. Meanwhile, Lovro's attempt to eliminate Karasuma ends in failure. Lovro opts to concede when he sustains an injury to his hand. Koro-sensei convinces Lovro to remain and assess Irina, elaborating on her endeavors as she continues her challenge. Karasuma willingly permits Irina to emerge victorious, expressing skepticism about Koro-sensei's capability to fulfill their agreement. Lovro grants his approval for Irina to remain and encourages her to accomplish her mission. During their break, some students engage in a conversation with Koro-sensei about his plan to see a movie. Karma and Nagisa gather their courage and ask Koro-sensei to take them along on his trip. Surprisingly, Koro-sensei agrees to their request and invites Ritsu to join them as well. Karma disagrees with Ritsu's suggestion to attempt an assassination in mid-air. Meanwhile, Koro-sensei conducts a lecture during the flight. In Hawaii, Koro-sensei takes Karma and Nagisa to a cinema and helps them with the interpretation. On their way back, Karma and Nagisa share their thoughts about Koro-sensei. As rain falls in Japan, Koro-sensei's body reacts to the weather while addressing the class. Ritsu informs the class about her knowledge of the new transfer student set to join that day. Suddenly, the transfer student's guardian, Shiro, arrives abruptly before introducing Itona. Itona bursts into the classroom, demolishing the walls as he makes a powerful entrance, showcasing his strength. He declares his intentions to Koro-sensei, to eliminate anyone he deems stronger than himself. Itona shocks everyone by revealing Koro-sensei as his brother and challenging him to a showdown after school. The Class 3E students notice the resemblance between Koro-sensei and Itona, confirming Itona's assertions. Itona and Koro-sensei get ready for their showdown, with desks arranged around them. Upon Shiro's signal, in an instant, Koro-sensei's arm falls to the ground. The truth dawns on everyone as they realize that Itona's hair is composed of tentacles, which he used to sever Koro-sensei's arm. Itona's strike causes Koro-sensei's skin to shed, while Shiro meticulously studies Koro-sensei's weaknesses. Despite Itona's confidence in his capacity to defeat Koro-sensei, Nagisa holds an opposing perspective. Koro-sensei regenerates his legs and breaks his silence about the entire contest. Utilizing the anti-pellets from the students, he causes Itona to lose most of his tentacles. Using the shed tentacles, Koro-sensei incapacitates Itona and removes him from the match. Shiro declares his decision to temporarily withdraw Itona from school. Koro-sensei's fingers start to dissolve as he attempts to stop Shiro from leaving with Itona. The students of Class 3E gather around Koro-sensei, eager to understand his emotions during the match. However, Koro-sensei declines to reveal anything, prompting the students to beseech Karasuma for rigorous training. Sugino tentatively approaches his friends on the baseball team, curious about their activities. The team's captain challenges Sugino, while simultaneously, Koro-sensei receives a letter mandating the class to join in the baseball activities. Sugino shares his thoughts on the challenge with Koro-sensei, while the rest of the class hesitates due to their unfavorable reputation. The match kicks off, favoring Class 3E, as they utilize the skills learned from Koro-sensei's training to outperform the baseball team. The students watch in amazement as the boys showcase their newfound abilities. The students reminisce about Koro-sensei's dedicated training sessions, focusing on his use of after-image techniques. Koro-sensei assigns Takabayashi to discreetly observe the players during the match. Class 3E boys emerge victorious in the first round against the baseball players. Asano, seething with anger, confronts the coach and delivers cutting remarks. Asano declares his intention to take over as the baseball coach. Utilizing his skills, Asano disrupts the dynamics for Koro-sensei's students and employs persuasive language to motivate the baseball players, instilling confidence in their abilities. Karma objects to Asano's methods, sparking panic among the audience. Class 3E faces a dire situation at the beginning of the second round. Asano concentrates on Shindu, the star player, harboring thoughts of retaliation. Meanwhile, Karma rallies his classmates, drawing from his past actions during the protest to form a robust defense. Asano grants Karma's request, confident in Shindu's ability to execute his plans. Karma employs his provocative nature to disrupt Shindu's implementation of Asano's strategies, resulting in Class 3E boys winning the match. Sugino approaches Shindu, concluding the event on a positive note. For the past 4 months, Karasuma has been leading rigorous training sessions with the students in Class 3E, meticulously assessing each student's notable progress. A new instructor, Takaoka, joins the school to aid Karasuma. Takaoka impresses the students by using snacks to make a positive impression. Meanwhile, Karasuma stumbles upon a troubling picture among his files. Takaoka startles the students by abruptly striking a student who protested about their schedule rights. Additionally, he slaps Kanzaki for choosing Karasuma as her preferred instructor. Despite Karasuma's attempt to intervene and check on the students, he's unable to prevent Takaoka from continuing the training. Observing Karasuma from the side, Takaoka smirks mischievously and taunts him. He challenges Karasuma to select a student to fight against him as the sole condition for Takaoka to step down as their instructor. After careful consideration, Karasuma decides and ultimately chooses Nagisa to face Takaoka in the challenge. Karasuma waits for Nagisa's decision and explains the challenge's nature. Nagisa agrees to use a real weapon against Takaoka, prompting murmurs among the other students about Nagisa's chances of success. Calmly, Nagisa assesses Takaoka, recalling Karasuma's advice and formulating a strategy to secure victory. Nagisa implements his strategy and manages to pin Takaoka down with a knife at his throat. Everyone is stunned by Nagisa's swift conclusion of the fight, rushing towards him to offer cheers and support. Enraged, Takaoka demands a rematch, but Nagisa calmly declines, requesting to leave instead. Enraged by Nagisa's response, Takaoka erupts in anger and moves to strike Nagisa, but Karasuma intervenes, forcefully knocking Takaoka to the ground. Principal Asano intervenes as well, personally handing Takaoka a dismissal letter. Following this, Karasuma agrees to spend time with the students as a form of reward. Class 3E relishes a sunny afternoon, delighting in the pool specially arranged by Koro-sensei. However, Koro-sensei establishes strict rules, admonishing several students for being excessively relaxed in the pool. During this time, the class becomes aware of Koro-sensei's vulnerability to water. Terasaka seizes Muramatsu by the collar upon noticing an unexpected improvement in his grades, despite their pledge not to be swayed by Koro-sensei's influence. Persisting in causing disruptions, Terasaka sabotages class activities. Later, under the cover of night, he clandestinely pours a liquid into Koro-sensei's pool. As a spy, Terasaka receives a bribe from Shiro. Itona focuses on Terasaka, contrasting his demeanor with Karma's, perceiving him as weaker. Terasaka enters the class and provokes Koro-sensei, challenging him to an assassination attempt by the pool. Koro-sensei's tentacles react to Terasaka's spray. Nagisa notices Terasaka's peculiar conduct after asking a few questions. Terasaka assumes a tyrannical role, commanding everyone as he prepares for his assassination attempt. When he pulls the trigger, the pool becomes a danger to the students, prompting Koro-sensei to shield them. Terasaka attempts to deflect blame, but Karma swiftly punches him. Meanwhile, Itona and Shiro confront Koro-sensei, demanding a rematch. Terasaka, feeling ashamed, reflects on his actions and returns to face his classmates. Acknowledging his mistakes, he confesses to his friends while they watch Koro-sensei navigate Itona's attacks while safeguarding the students. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Terasaka willingly asks Karma to guide him in countering Itona and Shiro. Terasaka gears up to take responsibility and rectify the situation. He dives into the water, leveraging the previous spray's effects, and manages to incapacitate Itona to a reasonable extent. The class comes together, forgiving Terasaka and focusing on reconnecting. Koro-sensei offers a deal to his students that whoever receives a top score in their final exams will have access to destroy one of his tentacles. Karasuma and Irina visit Principal Asano to discuss his last trick during the midterm exams, and Shindu reach out to Sugino and proposes an invitation. Shindu outlines the top 5 students' names in their main campus while being on the call. Principal Asano's only son, Asano Gakushu, and his colleagues encourage the students to make efforts to hinder Class 3E from returning to the main campus. Gakusu reports back to Principal Asano regarding the progress with his plans, then curiously informs his father of his suspicions about a certain octopus and its relationship with his father. Gakushu informs his father of his plan to control him, while they end the conversation with loud laughter. The top 5 scorers find Class 3E studying in the library and taunt them, then propose a deal with the condition that the loser acts as a slave to the winning party. Class 3E scares them off as they mistakenly try to place their lives on the line. Rumors about the library incident travel fast as the top 4 meet with Gakushu to discuss their next line of action. Koro-sensei addresses the class regarding a strategy to counter Class A plans. Principal Asano instructs the examiners to toughen the questions. Gakushu adds a condition amongst his numerous conditions that would grant him access to the secrets about the E-class, which he plans to use in controlling his father. The day for the final exams arrives, and Karasuma arrives early to inform Nagisa and his classmate about Ritsu's proxy for her exams, and also about his warmest wishes. Class 3E students battle with their final exam questions and find it much tougher than their midterms. Seo-kun applies his usual method in dealing with the exam questions, but it backfires this time around. Koro-sensei implements some strategies during his lecture to equip the students for such situations. Okuda succeeds in her methods with the science subjects, but her counterparts who use only memorization struggle immensely. Isogai escapes a difficult question. With the help of Koro-sensei's previous assistance in history about Africa, silence envelops the class as the result of their final exam are about to be announced. Nakamura gets a perfect score in English as she tops the entire class. Okuda and Isogai do tremendously well in their various subjects too, excluding Karma. As he surprisingly gets a bad score, the top 5 of the main campus uses Gakushu's score in covering for their inadequacies. Koro-sensei speaks to Karma about his poor results as he attributes it to Karma's overconfidence. Principal Asano mocks Gakushu's failure in winning against Class 3E, which causes Gakushu to be furious at his defeat. Koro-sensei also reprimands Karma for his poor results. Koro-sensei begins his lecture by granting the top scorers of Class 3E access to a part of his tentacles. Terasaka and his squad present their scores to Koro-sensei, which makes it 7 tentacles to be attacked. Irina and Koro-sensei stay behind, while Karasuma accompanies the students for a ceremony at the main campus. Karasuma receives a complaint from his students about Ritsu's proxy, as it causes a nostalgic feeling. The students from the main campus feel threatened as they learn about Class 3E massive improvements. Class 3E top students are gifted a 3-day summer vacation at a resort, while Gakushu vows to revenge on Class 3E. Nagisa and Sugino spend the beginning of their summer vacation back at the school to pick some bugs. They meet Maihara and Kurahashi at school sourcing funds for their vacation. Kurahashi enlightens the boys about the worth of bugs and suggests a few suggestions. Kurahashi happily announces the commencement of their bug-hunting adventure. Okajima joins the group as he distracts them with his plan to nab Koro-sensei. After luring Koro-sensei with bunches of pornographic magazines, Okajima carefully analyzes his plans and steps to his friends as they prepare to make their move. Koro-sensei discovers a Miyama stag beetle, and Kurahashi unconsciously rushes to him as she's been seeking such species. Koro-sensei confesses to his students about his knowledge of Okajima's plans, but his yearning for the magazine contents causes him to go ahead. Kurahashi rejoices as she's been able to source for funds with Koro-sensei's help. Lovro unexpectedly appears behind Irina as she acts nonchalantly towards training. Irina rushes to change her outfit while he discusses with the students about their formation and strategy. In eliminating Koro-sensei, Lovro observes individual improvements and corrects some when necessary. Nagisa summons courage as he walks up to Lovro to ask some questions. Nagisa learns about the existence of the Reaper, who's the best assassin. Koro-sensei develops motion sickness as they begin their journey to the resort, and the students inform Koro-sensei of their desire to be in groups, just as they class trip. A group pretends to spend time with Koro-sensei, while the rest work on their preparations. Class 3E rents out the entire hotel and its environment just to carry out their assassination. Koro-sensei enjoys his time having fun and experimenting with different dishes, while the students anxiously anticipate the outcome of their plans. Koro-sensei analyzes his environment after listening to his students' terms and conditions. He notices the secret moves of his students using his unique sense of smell. Koro-sensei watches a documentary curated by Mimura that contains all his embarrassing moments with different scenarios. Koro-sensei panics after learning that he'd be spending another hour watching his embarrassing videos. Class 3E students commence their operations with water before destroying his tentacles. The scent from the exit was also faked to deceive Koro-sensei. Koro-sensei acknowledges the improved actions from the students, as he had no predictions to it. The students in the water are alerted to observe some bubbles in the water. Koro-sensei uses his trump card, which is also his absolute defense form. As he appears in a bubble, the students learn of their inability to infiltrate the bubble after Koro-sensei's explanations, and Karma decides to torment Koro-sensei using his weaknesses. Koro-sensei assumes that Karasuma plans to throw him in a pool of anti-teacher material. Class 3E students suddenly develop a sad countenance as they fail in their attempts after intense training and rehearsals. Nagisa suddenly notices the exhaustion in the atmosphere as Nakamura slumps. Nakamura feebly requests to retire to bed after slumping to the ground. Karasuma rushes to the cafeteria and finds most of the students sick, then receives a strange call from an unknown line. Karasuma realizes they've been infiltrated as the culprit infects the students with a virus and demands Koro-sensei in exchange for an antidote. Karasuma discusses the situation with Irina and some uninfected students. After much deliberation, Koro-sensei confirms from Ritsu about the progress with her prep work and proposes a plan to the uninfected students. Koro-sensei reminds the students of their goal, which is to steal the remedy. The uninfected students tremble as they stare at the huge mountain they have to overcome to sneak into the hotel on top. Karasuma decides to accept defeat only to find the students motivated as they begin climbing the mountain. Karasuma struggles to keep up, but eventually succeeds in reaching the hotel. Ritsu alerts her classmates as she unlocks the side entrance of the hotel. Irina saves the day by using oral seduction to distract the guards and giving the students an opening to get to the stairs. Koro-sensei offers a piece of advice to his students, requesting them to be cautious in their dealings. Okuda and Takabayashi care for the infected students back at the resort. Karasuma leads the uninfected students through a floor and encounters a strange man with gas. Fuwa uses her detective skills to recognize the culprit. Fuwa attributes her detective skills to her invested time in a kind of manga. The culprit throws a gas that causes Karasuma temporary paralysis, and the uninfected students immediately obstruct all possible exits for the culprit. Karasuma fiercely charges at the perpetrator and hits him into unconsciousness before moving ahead to the top floor. Karma decides to join the students in punishing Koro-sensei, as they're exposed to danger while he's protected in a spherical ball. Two strange men discuss the group's members' specialty, as one uses a gun for his noodles, Karasuma, and the students are being cornered as one of the men notices their presence. The uninfected students expose their presence to Grip as he explains their presence without making contact. Grip mocks his opponents regarding them as weaklings, and decides to reach out to his colleagues to handle them. Karma swiftly snatches the phone from Grip and challenges him. Grip holds onto Karma's weapon tightly. As he makes his first attack, Karma cautiously observes Grip's strength while dodging Grip's hands. Grip eventually grabs Karma and prepares to crush his skull when Karma uses Smog's gas as his defense. The remaining students rush to tap Smog. Karma reveals the trick he used to get one of Smog's gas. Grip stutters while interrogating Karma's smart counterattack, which caught him off guard. Koro-sensei outlines Karma's improvement to the students as it results from his defeat during the final exams. Karma mischievously proceeds to the next phase of his mischief, which is to stuff wasabi and mustard in Grip's nostrils. The girls volunteer to unlock the door at the lounge while the boys stay behind. Nagisa disguises as a female to accompany the girls when a strange boy walks up to the group and invites Nagisa for a drink. The strange boy introduces himself as Yuji. Her walks away with Nagisa. Yada saves the girls from some bullies by using Irina's Yakuza emblem. Yuji decides to forcefully leave an impression on Nagisa and follows him back to the girls. While trying to dance, Yuji mistakenly bumps into one of the customers. The victim furiously grabs Yuji by the collar and demands huge compensation from Yuji. One of the girls signals Shinada to make her move as she hits the victim into unconsciousness. Yuji forfeits his bad habits and returns home while the students proceed to the VIP floor. Ritsu addresses the group about the situation on the VIP floor while they peek at the guards. Koro-sensei tasks Terasaka with the responsibility of handling 2 guards before instructing Chiba and Hayami to use real guns as defense while trying to pass through the concert floor. Another assassin notices their presence. Another assassin notices the student's presence and prepares to commence his job. Koro-sensei suddenly appears in the front seat, which causes the assassin to fire a few shots. Koro-sensei frustrates the assassin's plans by directing the students on their strategy to commence an attack. Koro-sensei offers Chiba and Hayami a piece of advice before they fulfill their task. Koro-sensei's directions help the students in successfully pinning down the assassin, and Karasuma's strength slowly returns as he handles one of the guards. Nagisa discovers that Terasaka is also infected, but acts discreet about it. Terasaka refuses to let his infection hinder him, and requests Nagisa to keep it a secret. They all burst into the mastermind's room, only to discover it to be Takeoka. Takeoka displays various fake detonators as he welcomes the students, then proceeds to the roof to move to actualize his next plan. Takeoka uses his previous humiliation as a justification for his actions and recalls the rumors that had been traveling around his workplace. Takeoka orders Nagisa to follow him to the rooftop alone as a condition to not eliminate the infected students, then creates a hindrance that prevents any interruptions. Nagisa tries to settle things amicably with Takeoka as he demands a rematch, but Takeoka destroys the antidote to agonize Nagisa and his friends. Nagisa exclaims in shock as he watches the destruction of the antidote. In anger, Nagisa vows to kill Takeoka. Terasaka furiously hits Nagisa with a shotgun and expresses his thoughts about the pitiful expression Nagisa stared at him with. Koro-sensei and Karasuma yell at Nagisa, instructing him not to murder Takeoka. Nagisa keeps the shotgun and decides to use the knife, but ends up being beaten mercilessly by Takeoka. Terasaka delays Karma from making any moves by requesting him to halt. Nagisa lets out a scary smile and slowly walks towards Takeoka. Nagisa recalls Lovro's deadly technique training and cautiously applies them while moving close to his opponent, and he succeeds in bringing Takeoka to his knees. Everyone becomes shocked at Nagisa's quick application of Lovro's training. Nagisa uses his shotgun to raise Takeoka's neck. While pondering on a conclusion, Nagisa finishes off Takeoka, and the students rejoice. Smog and his group members join the students and the roof, and discloses their false alarm with the virus. Karasuma orders a chopper to rescue them, and informs Smog's group of his decision to detain them for interrogation. The students return to the rest with a remedy, while they spend the remaining hours of their vacation resting and recuperating. Class 3E arrives at a location in the evening with their sports outfit, while Karasuma gives orders to his colleagues. Koro-sensei joins the students as they play on the beach, while Irina tries to seduce Karasuma but fails yet again. Koro-sensei pats Nagisa on the head and commends his efforts. On the final day of Class 3E's summer camp, Koro-sensei proposes a courage-testing activity for their last evening. However, his real motive is to create a matchmaking scenario using a cave and spooky ghost stories, tricking the students with his suggestion. Koro-sensei gasps for air after being startled by a ghost, then admits his scheme to the students. They tease him for his failed attempt. During their cave adventure, Class 3E discovers Irina's affection for Karasuma and decides to lend her a hand. The students offer Irina guidance on her looks, while Karasuma is hurriedly directed from the dining area to meet Irina for their arranged meeting. Despite Irina's determination not to let the students down after their help, she awkwardly expresses her feelings and hastily leaves the table while confessing. Karasuma opts to set aside the entire situation and concentrate on the upcoming term. However, he takes a moment to reflect on Irina's confession. Nagisa spends quality time with his father, but their meeting gets interrupted by Koro-sensei's invitation, leading to visits to others as well. Meanwhile, Lovro meets an unfortunate end, murdered by an unknown person in Japan. The students of Class 3E agree to join Koro-sensei at the festival, where he seizes the chance to recover his expenses by operating several stalls. Meanwhile, the government convenes to discuss Class 3E's progress during the summer camp and their assassination mission, ultimately opting to raise the bounty to 30 billion yen. Kayano informs the students of her strategy to eliminate Koro-sensei by exploiting his past confessions to create a massive stockpile of pudding poppers. She then guides the students on how to handle things in Koro-sensei's absence. The group is astounded by Kayano's ingenious plan, as they typically see her as the supportive type. Kayano takes advantage of the government's involvement in the expenses to fulfill her long-cherished dream. The following morning, they remove the support holding the mold, then use agar and gelatin to soften the pudding. When Koro-sensei arrives, he enthusiastically commends Kayano for her hard work and eagerly indulges in the pudding. The students pretend to head to an English class, but secretly gather in the hallway to witness the explosive spectacle of the pudding. Koro-sensei senses the bomb and identifies Takabayashi as the culprit. Instead of reprimanding, he chooses to share the remaining pudding with the rest of the class. Nagisa, intrigued, asks Kayano about her reaction to the experiment's failure, and she responds with a positive outlook. Sugaya gets a call from his friends, who have been caught by Karasuma during training, unaware that he's next in line. Koro-sensei takes bribes from the students and releases them, causing a challenge for Karasuma. Accused of harassment, Koro-sensei tries to defend himself but fails when evidence is discovered among his belongings. The Class 3E students express their disappointment about the evidence, causing Koro-sensei considerable distress. The students of Class 3E deliberate on Koro-sensei being framed and opt to launch an investigation. Koro-sensei manages to catch the culprit, only to fall into a trap set by Shiro and Itona as they strike again. Shiro justifies his methods to Nagisa and the others, while Itona uses his tentacles to harm Koro-sensei. Koro-sensei, having unlocked new abilities, triumphs over Itona. Witnessing Itona's defeat, Shiro is taken aback, and Koro-sensei urges him to release Itona so he can provide care. Itona undergoes intense agony from the fight, visibly trembling due to the pain. Shiro explains the repercussions of Itona's loss while he kneels before them. Subsequently, Shiro forsakes Itona, leading him to unleash chaos in town. Koro-sensei resolves to locate Itona and persuades him to acknowledge Koro-sensei as his teacher. Despite finding Itona, the latter insists on challenging Koro-sensei, driven by the desire to emerge victorious. Koro-sensei attempts to convince Itona to leave, yet Shiro employs Itona as bait to harm Koro-sensei. Despite the danger, Koro-sensei shields Itona while evading attacks from Shiro's gunmen. Meanwhile, Nagisa and his friends pursue Shiro, infiltrating his operation, leaving Itona surprised by the students' concern for his safety. Unexpectedly, they notice Itona's tentacles dissolving due to the net used to capture him. Determined to prevent Itona from perishing, the students unite to save him by any means necessary. As Itona spends time with each student, his past troubles begin to haunt him. Hazama attempts to sow seeds of darkness in Itona's heart, seeking revenge against Shiro's actions, and suggests a novel to him. Terasaka confronts Itona, breaking him out of his relentless desire to win. Moved by this interaction, Itona resolves to change his ways and join Class 3E, ultimately becoming a part of Terasaka's squad. Itona captivates his classmates when they discover him assembling an RC tank designed to eliminate Koro-sensei, marveling at his technological skills. Placing the tank on the ground, he operates it using a controller. After successfully hitting its target, Itona reveals Koro-sensei's true weakness to his peers after confiding in them about it. Koro-sensei deduces Itona's strategy of revealing his own weakness and reacts with enthusiasm. Itona and the boys scrutinize the tank's flaws and decide to make alterations. The following morning, They arrive exceptionally early to field test the upgraded tank before classes begin. Nagisa beams while observing his classmates work together to test the tank, but their efforts are thwarted when a weasel destroys it during the trial run. The girls arrive at the class and uncover the boys' schemes, prompting a discussion about the significance of their individual names. This discussion evolves into the creation of code names for everyone. Koro-sensei leads the code naming process, explaining its significance to the class. They adopt their new code names during training sessions with Karasuma. After trying various tactics, Kimura eventually achieves success in making the training effective. However, despite their accomplishments, the students collectively voice complaints about their chosen names. Koro-sensei encourages his students to embrace their names while they share collective memories. He also proposes a name for himself, but the students promptly reject it. Principal Asano calls his son, Gakushu, to his office to discuss the report on the upcoming midterms, and Gakushu assures his father of regaining his trust. Nagisa and a few classmates are startled to discover Koro-sensei quietly enjoying dessert during their unexpected encounter. Meanwhile, Gakushu and his team visit Isugai at his part-time job, reminding him about breaking the no-work rule and proposing a challenge as a way to resolve the situation without repercussion. Isugai lays out his arguments to his friends about why they shouldn't agree to Gakushu's challenge, but they persist in wanting to confront him. Class 3E excels in different sports activities, showcasing their skills. When the time for the challenge between Class A and E arrives, they realize that Asano has recruited some robust exchange students to bolster his team. The Class A students notice that Class 3E is fully committed to their defensive strategy. Asano smirks and dispatches his initial team to launch an assault on Class 3E, leading to the disqualification of 2 Class 3E students. Asano proceeds with another simulated attack, encircling Class 3E as they make a dash toward Asano's pole. The elite students ridicule the boys from Class 3E as they find themselves encircled by Asano's team. Isugai and the others try to bring down Asano, but he skillfully uses martial arts to thwart their efforts. Undeterred, Isugai shifts to his next plan, while Takebayashi and his companion restrain Asano's most formidable teammates. Itona is called upon to execute his role in the plan to bring down Asano from the pole. As the secret weapon, Itona, along with his classmates, successfully topples Asano, resulting in Class 3E emerging victorious. Later, Principal Asano summons Gakushu and the foreign students and severely punishes them, sending a chilling message to Gakushu. Some students from Class 3E opt for a shortcut, enthusiastically leaping over buildings on their way to the station. Unfortunately, an elderly man riding through a narrow alley gets injured during their antics. Koro-sensei reprimands the students for their error, and he is tasked with making amends for their mistakes. A young woman informs a group of children about the absence of Mr. Matsukata and how Class 3E will be filling in for him. Among the kids, Sakura openly expresses her disdain for Class 3E's presence and behaves unkindly towards them. Determined to make amends, Class 3E commits to repairing the school during their time filling in for Principal Matsukata. Hazama and his partner take charge of the construction work while observing Kayano's interactions with the children. Nagisa tries to assist Sakura with her studies and imparts advice based on his encounter with Okajima and a stray cat. Unexpectedly, Principal Matsukata returns to the school and is pleasantly surprised to find it built with greater structure and organization. Koro-sensei elaborates on the building's transformation to Principal Matsukata and highlights the students' contributions. The principal acknowledges his inability to find any flaws and praises Class 3E for their efforts. Inspired by Nagisa's strategies, Sakura applies them and achieves second place in her tests. Karma stands out as the only one in Class 3E with good grades, while the rest experience a significant drop. Recognizing their errors, Class 3E apologizes to Karasuma for their shortcomings. Koro-sensei attempts to have a barbecue away from the class, but they intrude and showcase their new attire to him. Irina voices her dissatisfaction to a few students about Karasuma's indifferent approach to her birthday, feeling disappointed by the absence of a gift. Class 3E bands together to covertly arrange a present for Irina through Karasuma. They buy a bouquet and persuade Karasuma to present it while the other students keep Irina occupied for a period of time. The team diverting Irina abruptly gets a message and promptly excuses themselves, leaving Irina by herself. Furious, Irina storms into her office only to find Karasuma holding a bouquet. However, the moment turns sour as Karasuma's formal and harsh demeanor ruins it. Irina discovers Class 3E's plan with the bouquet and storms out of the school once more. Irina angrily vents in her car about Karasuma's reaction. 3 days have passed with no contact from her. Suddenly, the bouquet man casually enters the classroom, introducing himself as Reaper and claiming to have kidnapped Irina. He sets a condition for her release. The entire class must comply with his terms. Reaper ensnares the Class 3E students to draw Koro-sensei to his whereabouts. The students, unaware of Reaper's broader intentions, use a bomb to create an escape route. Meanwhile, Koro-sensei tries to establish contact with his students and senses something unusual. Discovering Reaper's refined invisibility, the students discover Nagisa volunteers to confront and take him down. Nagisa steps up, explaining the significance of the PE clothes they received. Reaper swiftly counters Nagisa's attack, leaving him momentarily immobilized. Meanwhile, another group of students attempts to rescue Irina, but she unexpectedly betrays them. Reaper then imprisons the students, awaiting Koro-sensei's arrival. Karasuma and Koro-sensei reach Reaper's location, and Koro-sensei is already familiar with Reaper's intentions. Reaper exposes himself to Koro-sensei, holding Irina hostage and laying out his demands. To their shock, Karasuma and Koro-sensei discover Irina's betrayal as she aligns herself with Reaper. Reaper reveals his plan to eliminate both Koro-sensei and the students. Karasuma resolves to shield both the students and Koro-sensei while facing off against Reaper. Meanwhile, Irina receives a directive from Reaper to eliminate Karasuma once he crosses through the trap-laden doors. Despite Karasuma managing to chase Reaper for a while, Reaper resorts to using Irina as a pawn, deceiving them all and triggering an explosion in the area where Karasuma and Irina stand. Karasuma spins around and discovers Irina unconscious beneath the debris, while Reaper persists with his actions. Koro-sensei reaches out to Karasuma, updating him on their escape plan, and Kurahashi advises Karasuma to rescue Irina from the rubble. Karasuma attends to Irina's injured arm and, lacking proper bandaging, uses his shirt. Irina adheres to Karasuma's plan, leading him to lift Reaper from the ground and leap into a vast canal. Upon discovering that Reaper has removed his facial disguise, Karasuma engages in combat with him. Meanwhile, Koro-sensei attempts to relay the combat scene to the students. Reaper unveils the truth about his past and the assassin responsible for his father's demise. Unaware that Koro-sensei uses a tentacle to deceive him, Reaper shoots Karasuma. Subsequently, Karasuma subdues Reaper, rendering him unconscious and delivers him to the Ministry's custody. Class 3E forgives Irina for her betrayal and advises her to return to the school. Kurahashi and the class are taken aback as Irina enters the room with a more understated appearance. Koro-sensei assigns the students the task of sharing their chosen career paths. Nagisa finds it challenging to finalize his decision and confides in Koro-sensei about his aspiration to become an assassin. Koro-sensei provides Nagisa with guidance regarding his decision and defers their discussion. When Nagisa returns home, he learns of his mother's intention to donate money to secure his transfer to Class D. Unintentionally, Nagisa tries to dissuade his mother but ends up receiving a scolding instead. Nagisa's mother selects a piece of female clothing from her wardrobe and puts it on Nagisa, who wears a displeased expression. In secret, Nagisa contacts Koro-sensei to share his mother's decision, and Koro-sensei reassures Nagisa that he will manage the situation. The following day, Nagisa's mother visits the school and delicately imposes her ideas on Nagisa. Nagisa's mother pats his head while explaining her reasons for the transfer to Koro-sensei. However, Koro-sensei responds a bit harshly, expressing his opinions, which infuriates Nagisa's mother, causing her to storm out of the staff room angrily. Later, Nagisa's mother drugs him and brings him to the school, instructing him to set it ablaze. Nagisa's mother reprimands him severely for refusing her commands, claiming sole credit for his achievements. Their conversation is interrupted by an assassin, and Nagisa carefully observes the assassin's actions before gradually subduing him. During this, Nagisa strikes a deal with his mother, who reluctantly accepts his decision for him to stay in Class 3E. Class 3E deliberates on the school's yearly festival and shares their viewpoints regarding their contributions. Upon learning about Gakushu's contract with a renowned restaurant, Koro-sensei proposes they start a business venture. Meanwhile, high schoolers from their school trip to the mountains aim to disrupt their acorn noodle restaurant. The high schoolers eagerly crave more of the delicious noodles after savoring the taste. Irina employs her charm to entice the boys into making additional purchases. Meanwhile, Itona updates his friends about the busy activities on the main campus, while Gakushu devises successive plans to prevent anyone from visiting Class 3E. Nagisa details their business situation to Mr. Matsukata, praising their hard work. Unexpectedly, Yuji visits Nagisa after hearing about the festival. Nakamura persuades Nagisa to wear skirts to impress Yuji. Nagisa takes Yuji to the woods for a meal, while his classmates use this opportunity to inflate Yuji's expenses. Nagisa intervenes as Yuji tries to call the police upon seeing Karasuma's visitor armed with a gun. Nagisa persists in spinning tales, trying to convince Yuji about the prestigious customers frequenting the restaurant. However, Yuji grows doubtful of Nagisa's stories, prompting Nagisa to ultimately confess the truth. Nagisa attempts to reimburse Yuji for his deception. However, leveraging his experience, Yuji posts an online review that garners significant attention for the restaurant. Koro-sensei advises the students to cease seeking additional acorns for their customers. Towards the end of the day, there's a surprising visit from Nagisa's mother, who engages Nagisa in a heartfelt conversation. The elite class's Big Five express astonishment upon hearing Principal Asano's views on the festival. Principal Asano requests privacy with his friends, but Gakushu re-enters the office to find his friends in a bloodthirsty mindset. Gakushu describes his relationship with Principal Asano as that of a teacher and student. Meanwhile, during Koro-sensei's class with 3E, they discover the unexpected shift at the main campus, where Principal Asano assumes control of Class A and directs his son to study independently. On their way home, Class 3E coincidentally encounters Gakushu resting on a wall. Gakushu implores them to defy his father's educational policies and strive for top positions, expressing concern over his father's influence on his peers. The students are astonished as they watch Gakushu bow after making his plea. Karma shares his thoughts with Gakushu on how to harness their energy for the upcoming battle against Class A. Meanwhile, Koro-sensei visits Principal Asano's office. As the exams draw near, Koro-sensei prepares the students as best as he can. However, Class 3E faces considerable challenges during an incredibly strenuous exam designed by Principal Asano. Ritsu's stand-in ensures the safety of her classmates during the Japanese exams, but the challenges heighten as they advance to the remaining subjects. Amid the trials, Karma recalls his strategies to his peers. When confronted with a challenging question, only he and Gakushu remain in the battle for the top position. Karma grapples with the last math question and reflects on a common statement from Nagisa. He attempts to utilize his peers' diverse talents to decipher the question. Meanwhile, Gakushu simplifies the question and pledges to debunk his father's rational policies. Gakushu firmly defines his responsibility as Principal Asano's son as he grapples with the problem. Karma resumes solving the problem and successfully arrives at a conclusive answer. However, Gakushu fails to finish before time elapses. The results favor Class 3E, marking a triumphant victory for them. Class 3E celebrates as their classmates occupy the top 5 positions in the entire class. Karma blushes when Koro-sensei praises him, though he credits his success to his collective experiences with his peers. Meanwhile, Gakushu notices the displeased expressions of his classmates and seeks their backing. However, his father, the principal, intervenes, insisting on employing his own methods. The top 4 from Class A admit their loss to Class 3E in front of Principal Asano. Publicly, Principal Asano strikes Gakushu and arranges for a bulldozer to demolish the Class 3E campus. Koro-sensei becomes alarmed upon receiving a dismissal letter from Principal Asano. Later, they enter the building, where Principal Asano articulates his demands using a gambling-style approach. Terasaka is assigned to kickstart a plan involving a formula for Koro-sensei's task involving a grenade. Koro-sensei becomes agitated but agrees to Principal Asano's demand and ends up detonating himself. Principal Asano intends to utilize the reward to establish affiliated schools nationwide. After 3 years, Principal Asano reconnects with Ikeda, intending to pay him a surprise visit, only to discover his passing. This event drives Principal Asano to adopt harsher methods, aiming to create a clear distinction between the weak and the strong. Principal Asano finds himself in a life-or-death situation as it's his turn to answer the question in the final book of the grenade. Taking a risk, Principal Asano faces potential danger, but Koro-sensei intervenes, saving him from the explosion. Eventually, the challenge concludes positively. Koro-sensei chooses to reward his students' grades by revealing his significant weakness to them. Despite their attempts, they fail once more. The student leader informs the class about the upcoming school drama festival, which will serve as a distraction from the crucial entrance examinations. Class 3E begins their stage play as some students deride their efforts. The drama presented by Class 3E revolves around the collapse of a marriage due to the pursuit of wealth, resulting in the breadwinner losing both his wife and assets. From his office, Principal Asano watches the play and foresees an unfortunate outcome for Class 3E. Nagisa steps in to assist Kayano, who accidentally spilled props while cleaning. Koro-sensei joins them upon noticing their absence and offers his help. Suddenly, Nagisa senses something amiss and witnesses tentacles emerging from Kayano's neck. In an attempt to attack Koro-sensei, Kayano ends up falling into a pitfall. She then reveals herself to the entire class as Yukimura's younger sister. A student recalls the name as that of their former homeroom teacher. Shiro had detected Kayano's peculiar presence in the class and conducted a secret investigation into her. Kayano, previously a renowned actress named Akira Yukimura, now assumes the guise of a regular student. Hurriedly, Akira dashes into the building after an unexpected explosion, searching for her sister. Among the debris, she discovers a note and a few tentacle seeds, taking some with her. In a strategic move, Akira takes the transfer exam to get closer to her target, Koro-sensei, assuming the identity of Kayano. Shiro convenes with Kayano regarding her meddling with his plans and the revelation of her true identity. Despite Shiro's counsel, Kayano dismisses his advice and disappears. Meanwhile, Class 3E presses Koro-sensei about his past and the tale of being a murderer, but he insists on sharing it only when Kayano is present among them. Koro-sensei urges Kayano to remove the tentacles due to their threat to her health. The rest of the class joins in, supporting Koro-sensei's plea for Kayano to hear his story. Angered, Kayano unleashes her fiery tentacles and assaults Koro-sensei. Itona observes the severe repercussions of Kayano's decision as its effects deeply impact her. Koro-sensei reveals one of his clones to the students while evading Kayano's assault. He outlines the strategy to promptly remove her tentacles. Instructing the students, Koro-sensei details the plan before rejoining the battle. Despite the danger, Koro-sensei allows Kayano to stab his heart, while Nagisa unexpectedly steps into the fray. Finally, Koro-sensei tightly restrains Kayano with his tentacles. Nagisa acts quickly, surprising everyone by kissing Kayano on the lips, intending to pacify her bloodlust. The class watches in astonishment as Nagisa employs this unconventional tactic as a distraction. Meanwhile, Koro-sensei skillfully removes the tentacles from her neck. Amidst the chaos, Shiro unveils his true identity to the class. Kayano awakens, bringing a sigh of relief from Koro-sensei. She admits to her deception, sharing her feelings of resentment. The students discover Kayano's animosity and her subsequent change of heart after a year among them. Embracing her, the entire class accepts Kayano and urges Koro-sensei to disclose the truth, prompting him to reveal his true identity as the genuine Reaper. Koro-sensei recounts his childhood tale and the reality of his life as an assassin. After being responsible for 1,000 deaths, he earns the moniker Reaper and is subjected to experimentation in a laboratory. It's there that he encounters Yukimura and Yanagisawa, the overseeing scientists. Reaper calmly registers a complaint with Yanagisawa regarding the experiment's impact. Yanagisawa reprimands Yukimura for engaging with Reaper during observations. Their bond solidified after this incident, and Reaper began noticing further changes in his body, fostering a closer friendship with Yukimura. Reaper playfully teases Yukimura about her fashion sense when she proposes showing him a new shirt design, which turns out to be a tube top. Reaper's reaction to Yukimura's attire prompts her to tease him, leading to a candid conversation about her viewpoint. Yukimura then makes plans to reconnect with her younger sister, arranging a date for their reunion. After a year of friendship, Reaper and Yukimura have a physical confrontation. Reaper lashes out at Yukimura when she reveals Yanagisawa's schemes. Subsequently, Reaper rebels, assaulting the soldiers and attempting to impede his escape. In the chaos, Yanagisawa loses an eye, and Reaper successfully dismantles the laboratory. Yukimura faces challenges trying to connect with Reaper as he discusses his impending death. Despite this, she embraces him, offering solace with gentle words. Tragedy strikes when a trap pierces Yukimura's stomach. Reaper blames himself for not using his abilities to prevent her injury. In her final moments, Yukimura asks Reaper to take over her role and teach her students in her absence. Reaper resurfaces in his octopus-like form from the ground. Koro-sensei's narrative deeply affects Kayano, leading to her breakdown, with Okuda offering comfort. As they absorb Koro-sensei's story, flashes of numerous moments spent with him flood through the students' minds, recalling their mission to assassinate him. The new year arrives, and students in Class 3E show no signs of preparing for their ongoing mission to assassinate Koro-sensei. Nagisa and a few friends visit Kayano in the hospital to see how she's doing. As the new term starts, Koro-sensei faces a chilly reception from his students in the class. Nagisa engages his classmates in the grove, discussing strategies to prevent Koro-sensei from exploding before March. To his surprise, most of his classmates express full support for the plan, except Nakamura. Karma and a few others confront Nagisa about his choice, with Karma persistently challenging him. A duel between Nagisa and Karma ensues, with Nagisa displaying a fighting skill that astounds everyone. Despite Nagisa's effort, Karma proves to be stronger, prompting Koro-sensei to intervene and mediate the situation. Koro-sensei introduces a red and blue paintball, proposing an idea for the students to consider. Each student steps up, voicing their choice and reasoning as they make their selection. Nagisa and Kayano choose loyalty, while Ritsu opts for neutrality. Koro-sensei explains to Okano that their resolve to eliminate him signifies the depth of their connection. After each student makes their choice, Kayano points out her observations regarding Nagisa and Karma's relationship. Karasuma steps in as a referee to oversee the upcoming duel between the two teams. Kanzaki surprises Chiba by utilizing skills she's honed from online games, taking a shot unexpectedly. Karma quickly seizes Kanzaki as she approaches his team's flag and issues defensive strategy orders to his teammates. Kayano faces a setback in her attempt to intercept her opponents, leading to quarrels among the others. Karma strategically positions Hayami in a crucial spot within the team, but Hayami gets eliminated after a bold move by Yada. Similarly, Itona also gets taken out. Unexpectedly, Nagisa and a small group surprise Nakamura and Terasaka, eliminating them and leaving Karma astonished. Nagisa executes a remarkable maneuver, setting the stage for a one-on-one duel with Karma. The tension mounts as everyone eagerly awaits the outcome, while Nagisa reflects on the bond he forged with Karma. Karma encounters Nagisa at a comic book shop, instantly recognizing the book Nagisa has. However, Karma begins to sense something unusual in Nagisa's demeanor, prompting him to keep his distance. As tension rises, Nagisa disarms Karma with his knife, leading Karma to strike Nagisa to prevent him from reaching for another weapon. Karma persists in his aggressive strikes against Nagisa, reciprocating Nagisa's efforts. The final blow from Karma leaves Nagisa grounded, pretending to be overcome. In a surprising turn, Nagisa employs a triangle choke maneuver on Karma. Nagisa secures victory as Karasuma officially announces Karma's surrender. Exhausted, Nagisa remains on the ground, listening to Karma's reasoning behind his concession. Karma reveals their mutual decision to discard their formal names, solidifying their connection. Karasuma and the other educators notice the students' elevated spirits despite their intense confrontation. Later that evening, Karasuma addresses the entire class, acknowledging their unified choice to protect Koro-sensei. The entire class deliberates on strategies to save Koro-sensei, and he proposes a daring plan. Koro-sensei and the Class 3E students strategize and assess the intricacies of infiltrating the space rocket. Karma and Nagisa are chosen to clandestinely board the rocket, while Kurahashi and her group create a diversion to aid their infiltration. Ritsu updates the students on the successful hacking of the control room's computers. Creating a 10-second window, she aids Nagisa and Karma in reaching their destination. Koro-sensei guides the rockets to a specific point, allowing Karma and Nagisa to continue independently. The duo takes an American hostage aboard the ship. Nagisa and Karma enter the main ship to negotiate with the Americans. Surprisingly, the Americans agreed to their terms and willingly provided the intel necessary to save Koro-sensei. However, they delay Karma and Nagisa slightly by giving them a tour around the ship. As they prepare to return home, the Americans praise Nagisa and Karma for their bravery. Nagisa double-checks with Ritsu about their safe return to Earth. Meanwhile, Koro-sensei joins them in the air as the others eagerly await their return to the school. A large hole is made to facilitate their landing. Karasuma reprimands Koro-sensei for the unauthorized space journey, but they strike a deal. They gather in the classroom to review the retrieved data. Okuda deciphers the contents, sparking a glimmer of hope for saving Koro-sensei. With just 32 days until their graduation, Class 3E remains undecided about their next steps. Nagisa chats with friends about their high school choices, each preparing for their unique path. He also spends time tutoring Sakura. Nagisa openly shares his uncertainties with Sakura, pondering his future and considering a teaching career. He gears up for his entrance exams while Kayano looks on suspiciously as Nakamura and Karma playfully tease her about a gift she might have given Nagisa. Karma displays Sugino's response to Kanzaki's gift to imply how Nagisa might react. He promises to divert Koro-sensei's attention while Kayano figures out how to give Nagisa her gift, grappling with the best way to approach him considering his future aspirations. Karma and Nakamura discuss Kayano's altered approach in giving Nagisa her gift. Irina arranges a private dinner with Karasuma, discussing the event and sharing updates on the assassination plan. Simultaneously, the government completes the creation of a weapon designed to eliminate Koro-sensei. Koro-sensei panics when Principal Asano catches him drooling over Yukimura's picture. Asano makes a unique request for Koro-sensei to return as a teacher the following year, but Koro-sensei declines. Meanwhile, Karasuma talks to Irina during a walk, addressing her emotions and stylishly suggesting they live together. Nagisa comes home and is taken aback by the acceptance letter from his preferred college. Meanwhile, Koro-sensei congratulates the Class 3E students on their successful admission to their chosen schools, and proposes creating a yearbook to preserve their memories together. Koro-sensei surprises everyone by gathering the students into a large bag, proposing a journey around the world to capture unforgettable moments. He leads a final career counseling session, where Nagisa reveals his aspiration to become a teacher. Nagisa notices a light radiating from a distance, and unknowingly to all students of Class 3E, the government has placed measures in place to attack Koro-sensei without their notice. The government finally reveals its plans to the public and taints Koro-sensei's image by regarding him as a monster and the students as hostages. Karasuma gathers the students to update them, but they all express their thoughts regarding the issue. After listening to Karasuma's orders, Nagisa announces to the class a plan to rescue Koro-sensei before the deadline. Another set of squads reports back to their team as Hayami and her classmates infiltrate the mountain just to see Koro-sensei one last time. Karma positions himself on a tree while giving individual orders on what to do, then jumps into action to tackle a strong soldier who proves to be an obstacle. Nagisa unleashes one of his techniques, and with the help of Karma, he can defeat the soldier. Nagisa and Karm give each other a high five to commend each other for defeating the soldier. The students finally gain access to the barrier and give a warm reception to Koro-sensei. Koro-sensei speaks calmly to his students as he talks about no form of escape from the government's destruction. Koro-sensei tells the students that he's honored to have been labeled a target. Terasaka and his squad protest the government's measures and suggest a way to persuade the public to save Koro-sensei. Instead, Koro-sensei calms them down and lectures them for a bit about what lies ahead of them in the future. Koro-sensei appreciates his students' efforts to try and save him. Nagisa watches Koro-sensei speak so calmly and ponders about it. Nakamura pulls out a cake for Koro-sensei for them to celebrate his birthday. But Shiro ruins the moment by returning with the fake Reaper, who's now a monster. Koro-sensei ponders his teacher-student relationship with the fake Reaper and recollects Yukimura's thoughts on the matter. Shiro outlines the upgraded tremendous powers of the fake Reaper as the fake Reaper attacks Koro-sensei. Shiro also injects himself with a substance as he desires to destroy Koro-sensei. Nagisa observes the situation as the fake Reaper uses a sonic attack with every move he makes on Koro-sensei. Koro-sensei returns to dodging every attack to close in the gaps of his opponent. Koro-sensei requests Yanagisawa to permit just him and the fake student to battle. Karasuma and Irina rush back to the school and find it in an exploded stair. While they worry immediately about the students, Karasuma tries to apprehend Yanagisawa, but gets hit in return. Yanagisawa decides to use the students to make Koro-sensei suffer, as he views them as Koro-sensei's greatest weakness. Kayano requests Koro-sensei for him to permit them to protect him while he recovers. Kayano is immediately stabbed as she confronts the fake Reaper. Koro-sensei explodes in rage as he unleashes his true powers. Yanagisawa also follows suit by injecting the fake Reaper and ending the battle. Koro-sensei fuses all emotions from his past and present and turns them into a pure white energy. Yanagisawa screams as he watches his plan fail yet again after Koro-sensei bids his ex-student farewell. Koro-sensei pulls out the special knife and stabs the fake Reaper as he reminisces on their moments one more time. The students begin to mourn Kayano as things subside for a bit. Koro-sensei orders Nagisa not to drop Kayano, as he unleashes a ball filled with Kayano's cells and immune parts he was able to retrieve while battling, and he fixes up Kayano as she eventually regains consciousness. Kayano regains consciousness and realizes the situation of her clothes. wishing that Koro-sensei had considered that before reviving her. Koro-sensei collapses to the ground, looking frail. As they're all reminded about the space laser, Sugino conducts a census about their conclusion regarding Koro-sensei. Nakamura confirms from Koro-sensei the effect of the entire class holding them back from moving. Nagisa volunteers to kill Koro-sensei on behalf of the whole class. Koro-sensei utters his farewell statements to Karasuma and Irina and decides to call out the attendants one last time before he's murdered. The call roll continues as Justice's name is being called out by Koro-sensei while they reluctantly answer. Some also weep in the process of giving feedback. And the students recall the moments they've all shared with Koro-sensei while he keeps calling out the names. Nagisa struggles to stab Koro-sensei's heart after finishing the call roll. He continues shivering in fear while the others anxiously await Nagisa's move. Koro-sensei calms Nagisa's nerves and suggests another approach to his demise. Nagisa heeds Koro-sensei's instructions and ponders about their happy moments before gathering the courage to stab him. Nagisa weeps loudly after the demise and disappearance of Koro-sensei into thin air. The other students follow suit as they pour out their entire emotions while mourning Koro-sensei's death. The students return to the classroom exhausted and find individual yearbooks and a huge book filled with advice from Koro-sensei. They sleep off in the process and awaken to a normal bright morning. Karasuma addresses Class 3E students as their assassination mission has been completed. The students request Karasuma to permit them to attend their graduation ceremony. Nagisa meets with his mother after graduation and finds his father as they tell him about Koro-sensei's doings. The press rushes to interview Class 3E immediately after they notice the completion of their graduation ceremony. Karasuma protects the students from being harassed, while Gakushu and his squad lead Class 3E to the bus and act as a cover. The Class 3E building is shut down and the students receive their bounty. The students apply Koro-sensei's advice from his guidebook and use part of the bounty for their tuition and living expenses. They all depart to their various destinations and reunite several years later. They return to the campus to tidy it up and reconnect once again. Isogai discusses this with his friends as he proposes that they consider a solution to the campus instead of constant preservation. Each student decides their path and brings their dreams to life. Takabayashi and Okuda work together on science projects, while Itona and Yoshida take charge of their family's businesses. Karma succeeds academically and passes the national civil exam to pursue his career of becoming a bureaucrat. Nagisa eventually becomes a trainee teacher in a disorganized class. He unleashes his assassin personality on one of the bullies and restores order as he begins his class. The end. So this is the story of Assassination Classroom. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new anime recaps.